Welcome, everybody. I'm Maury Weinstein, president and co-founder of System Source. And today we're trying a new webinar format, a 30-minute format. Just an interesting try at making sure we can digest everything we need to know about setting expectations for a managed IT services relationship in 30 minutes. It'll be a bit of a test. Your comments, of course, at the end of the webinar or anytime are very helpful in understanding whether we've achieved our goals today. I have listed my phone number right there in the middle of the screen. It is good day or night if you're something I should be hearing from our 65-person staff, or you feel you're sliding backwards or something you're curious about. I am around the clock available. We hope you're enjoying your pizza. Delivery is a bit of an art rather than a science. If you haven't received your pizza, please check your front door or reception desk, and then contact Julie at jdellinger@syssource.com. Thanks, Julie, for putting together today's event. I thought I'd go to the system source wheel. Some of you have heard the story before, I sense, but it does tell you something about what information you can rely on us for, what our expertise is. Many customers come to us to improve their IT and audiovisual operations. We do that by using our training center, where we train about 6,000 people a year in a variety of topics. We have completed 2,500 seats of AI training provided to our clients. And of course, all of our work is done, nearly all of our work is done virtually these days, although we have classrooms being in use here in Hunt Valley in the next few days for custom instruction. Presentation systems is where we keep the folks that do all the Teams rooms building, all the boardroom building, all the rooms of that sort. Of course, during the summer, we do a lot of work in building classrooms, so they're very busy at the moment. Consulting is where we keep our heavy hitters. These folks average 30 years of tenure with us and do all of our service, all of our security work, and all of our cloud migrations are done in our consulting area. Cloud services is code word for our data center. We've been running a data center in Hunt Valley since 1995. So we took our cloud blinders off many years ago. Today, of course, much of our work is being done at AWS and Azure. Service and support can be done two different directions, and that's what we're here to talk about today. One is reactive, when you call us when it all falls apart. Not an easy area of the business, and we don't do too much work in that area anymore. Much of our work is done in managed services, which is proactive maintenance. If we maintain efficiently, there may be enough money left over in the budget to purchase new equipment and refresh the environment once in a while. That's the responsibility of our warehouse and our configuration center here in Hunt Valley. Based on the 65-person firm that we enjoy, thank you for joining us today. And of course, don't hesitate to join us for a computer museum tour. We have a very large computer museum here in Hunt Valley. Our management event series doesn't stop here with setting expectations. We've got lots of other ones. You can keep an eye on your email screen or the front of our webpage. The most recent one was security lessons from Verizon's analysis of 31,000 security incidents. We'll touch actually on that topic today. Plenty of other ones, including building cost-effective and crisis-free IT teams. All of that is part of our management event series. Our agenda is right in front of you. There are 9 areas. Hopefully we'll be able to cover all 9 in 30 minutes. We'll start with lower personnel costs through higher productivity, something that's widely talked about, but rarely measured, all the way through data-driven recommendations for better decision-making. We'll be using the Verizon report as our playbook for that line item, all the way through business reviews, very important part of the work that we do and the work that you could expect from a managed services provider. Let's jump right in. I've keyed them in the upper left-hand corner in case you want to take notes, or if you have questions, you're welcome to refer to the number on the slide in the upper left-hand corner. Lower staff costs via higher productivity. This is a real hot button, certainly for top management. Understanding what the impact of security is on staff productivity. These are valid questions. And we have some metrics that I'd like to share with you. They're internal metrics that you might enjoy and might even replicate on your own or benchmark against your own. So let's take a look at them. We use as a staff productivity metric for our clients a metric that is calculated by tickets per workstation per business day. That's the metric we use. Our job is to make this line go down, because when that line goes down, tickets per workstation per business day, when that drops, We think we're creating more productivity among your staff, the staff of our managed services customers, because they're spending less time in IT. And if they spend less time in IT, they have more time to spend in other important activities and their responsibilities within your organizations. So we've measured that over a long period of time. And over the last 124 months since January 2016, we've seen about a one-third drop, more than one-third drop in this metric. So there's lots of security work going on. There's COVID going on. There's Windows 10 to 11 migrations going on. But over the long haul, we've been able to pull this number down. So you should expect from your managed service provider, and by the way, you can also take the word managed out and just say from your internal IT department, a reduction in the tickets per workstation per business day over a long period of time. In our case, it's 35% over that 124-month period. This includes all the proactive tickets also. They're all in this number. And you could expect savings from this, right? The topic today is setting expectations for managed service providers. The savings for dropping 35% of tickets is about 9 grand a year in raw salary per 100 staff members. So you can actually monetize what this staff productivity metric is telling us. That assumes $35 per person per hour average wage and 1 hour of downtime per request. Not absurd assumptions. No funny assumptions here. So that gives you a feeling for what expectations you should have in the area of staff productivity. Now, of course, if you can't get the line going down, we've got to be able to take a look at your ticket causes. So one of the things we do with our managed service clients for each client is to look at the ticket causes by number of tickets in order to help that line go down. What's very interesting, especially to those of you who are managing, which is most of the people on this webinar today, um, is that each of our clients have a different pie chart, very different. Some of our clients have large turnover issues, which gives you all kinds of exits and onboarding issues. Other clients have older equipment, which gives you all kinds of older equipment issues. Other clients have a rough time with perhaps their demographic is not familiar with Microsoft 365 as they should be. So there's all kinds of reasons, and each client has a different graph, sometimes very different graphs. And that helps, understanding that helps us address the challenge of staff productivity and bringing the ticket per workstation per business day line down. So that's the first thought, first expectation. I'll just finish that expectation by saying not only is end user productivity increased because they're spending less time in IT, according to the metrics that we use internally, but management's productivity is up also, which should free up your time for important things like taking a vacation. We take great pride when our customers, when we get that first out of office message, it says, I'm on vacation for a week and a half, 2 weeks, when we heard they couldn't possibly do that before a managed services relationship. One of our clients wrote us recently, everything's seamless. Thank you for allowing us not to think too much about IT. So that's number one. Let's move quickly to number two, satisfied end users as a expectation for a managed services relationship. Now, satisfied end users doesn't happen on its own. There's no question about that. It's a lot of process. Some people ask about our resolution path. It starts with requests from the ticketing system. If you put your request in from the ticketing system, it goes to the engineer with about 50 pieces of information, including what version of Windows 11 you have, and so on. That means we can assign it to the right engineer the first time, and they don't have to ask a lot of questions because they know more than 50 things about you and your workstation. So escalations become minimal, and asking you to repeat the story over and over again become minimal. That helps customer sat a lot. The other piece is there's two more pieces here that help customer sat a lot. One is uh, users get ticket updates automatically. So for long-term tickets, every 2 business days, we're required to put a ticket note in so that you hear from us and you know the status. The other is the ticket is held open an extra day to ensure resolution. We learned that from one of our staff that came back to us maybe 7 years ago, and we do hold tickets open an extra day just to make sure resolution was achieved. So the end user doesn't have to reopen the ticket if there's trouble with whatever resolution we tried. That all filters into a single question customer sat survey, and I'll show you the results in a moment using our internal data. So Expectations around customer sat start with hearing managed services providers stories about how they manufacture customer sat. So I'm going to give you our results. They're in front of you. So we run around 98 or 99% what's known as top box score. Top box score is the percentage of fives over the total number of responses. Now the data here is not thin. This is based on about 3,000 responses each year. If you're awake in the middle of the night and looking for something to do, on the front of our webpage, we do have a graphic that is updated in real time in word cloud format of our customer satisfaction results. This graphic must have been done during Christmas because I can see the word Christmas in the graphic. So this is the actual comments from our customers in word cloud format, unedited in real time. We live and die based on customer sat, and I think that's an expectation you want to set with your managed service provider. Now, I should tell you that, and hopefully you've never seen this, but it is a truism. If you don't manage the customer sat, if you don't have the surveys going, if you don't have the processes in place, like you saw a moment ago for ticketing, for example, what happens to customer sat is it just goes down on its own. The other problem with customer sat that you hear from time to time is that it wanders. Wandering customer sat is not acceptable. A lot of reasons. No time to talk about it today, but if that's what you're achieving, we can certainly talk you through how to tune that up or perhaps be interested in managed IT services. So those are our internal customer sat results, and we do put this on our webpage, and of course it's in our lobby too. It does send the message to our staff that says we live and die on customer sat. Another expectation you should perhaps ask for if they don't offer it to you is actual customer sat comments. I use this page to record customer sat comments. There's actually 4 pages of this type. I just paste them in here. Some of our customers are very funny. I only hope they're as creative as they in their internal work as they are answering our surveys. This person said he's a device whisperer. This person noted that that our personnel were as cool as the other side of the pillow. This person, this is a favorite of mine. It's like my computer lost 50 pounds in minutes. There's all kinds of fun comments. This person said I could frustrate the Pope with my ignorance. He was extremely nice, understanding, and so on. So this is the type of expectation you should set where these kinds of comments are manufactured by the various procedures and recorded on up to minute surveys. When I talk to other people about customer sat surveys, they often talk about the fact that they're very interested in surveying. Some of them get to survey. I was talking to a large Maryland state help desk, and the manager was very sharp. And he said, customer sat survey goes on with every ticket, and my ears perked up. And then he said, well, I don't really get the results for 6 months after the ticket. So of course, there's no real-time correction nature, and the data is useless at 6 months, of course. We probably spend $10,000 a year just maintaining the custom code that drives the satisfaction surveying. So there's a lot of talk about satisfaction, but you've really got to ask in order to, if you have expectations around end user satisfaction, you really have to ask for the data, perhaps the actual comments. One client proactively told us recently, I didn't even ask him, one of our newer clients, he said his employees' IT SAT scores moved from 2.2 to 4.4 after switching from another managed service provider. So we shouldn't be patting ourselves on the back during this webinar, but that's a pretty big jump. That actually came from our number 2 competitor. So it really was a huge jump that I wasn't even aware of. Number 3, standards are everything. Now, these are hardware and software standards. And I think all of you intuitively know that if you have a standardized environment, that lowers your support costs because you could become expert in whatever standard you've chosen. That increases support quality for the same reason. And we had an instance recently where a customer asked us why we weren't expert on their WatchGuard firewall at 3 a.m. And the answer is they weren't following our standards. Perhaps we should have been enforcing them harder. But it's a fair question. But if you're not using standards that are compatible with your managed service provider, the support quality will be at least a little lower. We don't force you into our standards day one, but over time, we encourage you to do so. And of course, it lowers the cost of support personnel, which again has nothing to do with managed service providers, that you may experience this in your own internal IT operations. If you have standards, you don't need quite as superior a staff. They don't have to be miracle workers. Hiring and retaining miracle workers and paying for them is not easy. So that is why standards are everything in a managed services relationship. Number four, reduce risk to attract investors, prospects, M&A folks, or donors for our nonprofit audience. So what's necessary? What expectations have to be set? What conversations have to happen in order to enjoy this reduced risk? We find that these folks are asking a lot more questions, including new customers, asking a lot more questions about security than they used to. So one of the conversations you would expect to have with your managed services provider, you would expect them to bring it up, but if they don't, you can ask them, is to understand what security risk comfort level is true for your organization. Every organization has a different risk comfort level. If you bank or invest with Fidelity or Vanguard or Schwab, and if you ever go to one of their offices, I go to the Fidelity office to say hello every 3 years or so in Towson. They're really nice people. They're very professional, very well trained, and they're working about 50% productivity. Because at 50% productivity, what's the reason for that? And the answer is they're managing $7 trillion of other people's money, and they've got their security turned up all the way. But not every organization needs that. So that's a good conversation point for your managed service provider relationship. And we published this chart, and of course you'll get a copy of today's presentation. We published this chart of solutions that could be applied to increase your security, to lower your security risks. I should note that the yellow ones are part of the scope of our managed services provider contract. So I did that just to be honest with myself as to do these different security solutions, how do they fit within our scope of managed services? And the answer is the yellow ones are all in scope, assuming you have business premium or better Microsoft licensing. Lots of good solutions here, lots of important ones. I should note that some of these are $0 solutions. A 2FA doesn't have to be expensive. Disappearing from business social media is free. Some of these many of these are $0 solutions. Other conversations you would expect to have with a managed service provider is around RPOs and RTOs. Those of you who are in the IT industry know that RPO is recovery point objective and RTO is recovery time objective. What point do I have to restore to in case there's trouble, and how much time do I have to do so? These are all really important discussion points that you should expect to have with a managed services relationship. It turns out that the solutions that we design are completely dependent on these discussions, and that's why they're so important to have. Now, one of the ways we can keep our tickets per workstation per business day line going down, you saw that earlier in the presentation, is to do proactive activities. If you do enough proactive activities, you would expect, if you do them right and do it religiously with a lot of discipline, great communications, you would expect that the tickets would drop over time, the reactive tickets. And that is exactly what's happening. So I'll just pick up two of my favorite proactive activities. By the way, there's about 25 of these a year, and they're scheduled for different months of the year. For example, backup audits is August for us. That's a 2-man-week effort in order to check the details of every customer configuration for backups. So it's an intensive activity. Um, I've picked two red ones here in front of you. Microsoft 365 Enterprise App Checks. If any of you have not checked your tenant for the enterprise apps that have been granted permission, in fact, sometimes lots of permission, to your Office 365 tenant, Microsoft didn't tighten the screws on these authorizations, on these approvals for these enterprise applications until recently. That means that you might have upwards of 100 or more in your tenant that probably no one cares about. You can actually click through and see what type of permissions they have. Many times they're reading your email, your calendar, and more. The other one is we challenge our clients to report back to us on what Active Directory folders contain high security information, which ones are sensitive. For us to perform a permissions check on that, very important. So that we did, we'll do again this year, but that we did on an annual basis going backwards in time. So that's just two of the examples of the 25 or so proactive activities. Those are two of my favorite ones. There's lots of others. You should expect actionable reporting with your managed services relationship. When I talk to other managed service providers, they report on silly things like number of uh, number of spam emails or number of something filtered by the firewall, things that are just completely non-actionable. And you wonder why the executives stop showing up to business reviews is if you don't have actionable reporting, if you're just delivering noise, it's not particularly interesting. So we're going to take a look at research-driven recommendations. In order to do security risk and not spend more money chasing security risks than you need to, we need to deliver research-based recommendations. We do that using the Verizon Data Breach Investigations Report. I'll show you the example of that in just a moment. But here are some of the actionable security reports that we do deliver. I told you there's plenty of them that are noise. In fact, most of them are. But these are the ones that feel like they're actionable. For example, phishing campaign results, fraudulent 365 logins. These are areas that we should have management level discussions on in order to prevent security risks. So I'm going to show you the internal information on these two because you might be interested in comparing it to your own or seeing what progress we've made over the years. This is a graph of fraudulent logins to 365 accounts. Now this goes across many thousands of licenses. You can see over time we've been able to bring this number down, this number of fraudulent logins. This is per quarter, so this is 6 per quarter here. Now, the first thing you'll see is that we've had a couple bad quarters. 6 in both quarters. And I've looked at them pretty intently. Of course, anytime we bring on new clients, that number will jump up until they get the hang of phishing and best practices and not clicking on emails and so on. I did take a hard look at this last quarter because it happened 2 times in a row. In this last quarter, all clients represented by the 6 fraudulent logins either didn't have KnowBe4, which is our standard for phishing and training campaigns, or we don't manage their KnowBe4. Turns out that most software, like KnowBe4, if you don't set it up right, it actually is kind of worthless. And that's true of KnowBe4 as well as other phishing and training campaigns. It's got to be set up with best practices. For example, the frequency's got to be right and the groups have to be built properly. And there's lots of pieces of KnowBe4. It's pretty sophisticated, actually. So unless you manage it properly, you don't get the results. You pay the money and you don't get the results. And one of our jobs is to reset up our incoming clients' KnowBe4s in order to ingest best practices. So that all these clients in this 6, in the final data point, either didn't have KnowBe4 or we didn't manage their KnowBe4. So there's obviously a commonality there. As to what is possible and what to expect from a managed services relationship relative to phishing, once you turn KnowBe4 on, by the way, everyone starts in the same area. Before you turn KnowBe4 or whatever package you use on, most clients click 1 out of every 4 or 5 emails. That's a dangerous, dangerous area. So starting off at 23% or 22% is pretty typical for new clients. And of course, it will jump up anytime you change the intensity of your phishing templates. It'll pop up with anytime you hire new people. But it's our job together with your team to bring this number down. That is an expectation you should expect. You should set. Now, this particular data set is a real data set. There's nothing fake about this. We don't believe any of our manufacturers' data, so we create our own data sets. In the 6-month period ending whatever this is, that phishing campaign yields a 0.3% phish prone percentage. That's 0.3% of people will click a test phishing email. That is a very good number. The Verizon number overall across the world is 1.4%. That's a good number also. We still have clients at 7 or 8%. That's a difficult area to operate in because at that point you're an easy target. While our customers don't have to be perfect, being an easy target is something we've got to prevent. In terms of performance reporting, I show you a couple favorites here. By the way, you may have heard me say over other presentations that if IT managers would just ask for 4 data points each month, security incidents would be cut by half instantly. Those 4 are percentage of patches, percentage of 2FA, phish prone percentage that we just talked about, and backup completion percentage. This is a gesture toward backup completion percentage we report back to all of our clients, and you should expect to see this in your own relationship with managed service providers. Uh, Whether there is a failure, success, or error on your backups each day, job by job. So this is probably a 600-line spreadsheet for us, where our people are assessing your backups probably before you get up in the morning, certainly before I do, and creating a spreadsheet out of it. We, of course, show this spreadsheet during our business reviews to evidence the integrity of our backups. Many of you are IT people, and you know that you can make a lot of mistakes in IT, but loss of backups is not one of them. And of course, patch score is important also. This 94% patch score looks pretty good. We're actually going above this, but we know this is a lost art, patching, partly because it's really boring work, and partly because when we onboard clients, we actually test them before they come to us. Many of them, and for a long time, all of them were below 30%. So we know patch is a lost art. The Verizon report, by the way, if you join me for one of the webinars, shows the average patch for the serious patches is 43 days. Now you can start to see, that's, by the way, that's up from 32 last year days. Now you can see why the hackers are having a good time with various environments. So we take that number up, during the first week or two of the ongoing support called managed services. Number five, running out of time. Wow. Hopefully you'll stay with me. Number five, well-defined software scope. Very broadly, you should expect everything that you'd expect from in-house IT department, and there'd be a detailed scope so that there's no questions about scope questions. Scope questions really are not part of our business. Somehow we got into a scope that is easily cleavable, that is just not something we argue about. So if you're arguing scope, or if you think you have scope questions with your managed service provider, do ask, and we can always show you our scope. It cleaves beautifully so that there's not finger pointing or other friction or between our teams. And you should also expect an out-of-scope allowance just to make sure that the managed service provider is not nickel and diming you. Our allowance is here in front of you. We just guessed at that years ago, but that covers nearly all the ads, moves, and change allowance needed for all clients each month. Sometimes there's one or two that get a bill from us, different one each month. Data-driven recommendations for better IT decisions. You heard me talk about that. Here's the Verizon report for North America. One of the keys and one of the magic of Verizon report is that they cover 20 industries. So if you're in the construction industry, what do you care about what the healthcare people are doing? Or if you're in healthcare, what do you care about what the finance and insurance people are doing, and so on? If you're in the entertainment business, if you're in the gas station business, what do you care what other people are doing? So the Verizon report allows us to focus on industry by industry. They cover 20 industries, and learn from that. The top breach patterns in North America are right in front of you. Do you see where when you have information, especially for your industry? Now, if your industry is not covered, you probably would use North American data, which is what's in front of you. This is in rank order 1, 2, and 3. KnowBe4, of course, takes care of number 2 all by itself. That's at an 87% level. So if you were to become good at these top three areas, these top three breach patterns. And the word if is not a small word. It's a tough word to become good at these things. That's 87% of breaches you would have prevented. Do you see the 80-20 rule, or in this case, the 90-10 rule, helps you focus your time and money? Those are expectations you should have of your managed service provider. Improving your staff skill is an absolute expectation to set. In our case, we offer free app classes. Of course, we're a learning center also, you know that. And anytime we detect a gap in knowledge or thirst for knowledge during the working of the support requests, we provide a 1, 2, or full day Excel, Word, PowerPoint, SharePoint live training class. Number 8, team play, supporting co-management. Co-management is largely a gesture toward the fact that many of our clients have internal IT folks. So how do we play well with them? That team play is so important to large accounts, which is part of our specialty. Sharing extensive reporting, of course, is so important. Ease of ticket assignment and reassignment. If the ticket is assigned to the wrong party, how fast can we reassign it to the other one, the proper party? And the answer for us is at the speed of light. You may ask us to create a dispatch role. We're actually dispatching tickets. Half of them go our way, half of them go your way, because you may be handling the client side of the help desk. We may be handling the server side, or it could be the other way around. Of course, clear scope it solves a lot of issues, and shared portal access. New all of our clients, especially those with IT departments, have full access to all the data. There's nothing held behind the scenes. Number nine, business reviews. Business reviews is a favorite of mine, but it's partly a favorite because I don't have to do the 10 hours of work that's necessary for us internally to develop the business review packet. All of our larger clients, of course, see us once a quarter. This is where we help make IT decisions. We ingest best practices. We budget for next year. You help us prioritize your needs so that we're not working on low priority stuff. During business review, we bring the actionable data to your attention. This, for example, is our quick glance security dashboard. It's about 66 lines long. This is just a little bit of it right here, just so you couldn't see it if I put all 66 lines here. But we show our customers where they are relative to best practices with our red, green, and yellow lights. It does cause us quite a bit of satisfaction to go from red to yellow to green. We also have another dashboard for infrastructure, and we actually have a few clients that are all green on that dashboard. Nobody all green on this one. There's also a board version for top management for you to present pieces of this in order to keep the top management people informed. That's really my presentation on the 9 pieces of setting expectations for managed service providers relationships. Michelle Robinson, who runs our learning center, did throw in this slide today. It's a management thought because a lot of you are managers. Um, we provide unlimited training at $18 per user per month. And the reason I bring this to your attention is it helps lower turnover. Some people have heavy turnover problems. We've seen that among our clientele. Some have just gotten used to it, and some industries, it's just that's the way it is. But if you were to walk over to high potential employees and tap on their shoulder and say, "We believe in you. We're going to give you unlimited Microsoft 365 training," that's a hell of a message for $18 a month. So I just thought I'd throw that in here as a management thought. We're going to finish today all about IT. You're welcome to complete the survey after this webinar. Of course, your feedback is important. I'll take any questions right now because I ran 2 minutes over. I'll take any questions right now in the chat window or the Q&A box. I'm watching both. I'll be quiet for 10 seconds if you have other thoughts. If you have thoughts where you've tried some of what we talked about today and it worked or didn't work, that's valuable sharing. Go ahead, please. Well, I hope that you enjoyed today's presentation. I hope you had some benefit. Remember, it does apply to internal IT as well as managed services relationships. And you'll let us know what you thought about the new format. I appreciate your time very, very much.